what's wrong with you? And it's not, it's a shift in the economy, and it's very tough to get them to understand that and to to back down. So we're all, I think we're all dealing with the same thing, and it has been a major shift over the last couple of years.
It was easy. I would probably say, out of everyone here, I am just curious, who has property still on the market over 30 days? Yeah, there you go. Remember when it used to be like 14 or less? So it is different, and I think part of it, somebody said it yesterday in a session, where we just have to be very proactive in how we approach the data that we're seeing, the shifts in the economy, everything else, and just really try to be as observant as we can and let our clients know this. But they can get frustrated all they want, they can be mad, they can leave us and go somewhere else. They're going to face the same issue with anyone else. So how do we just do it better?
And I'm sure that's a hard conversation to have in the moment, explaining that they're going to have that. So speaking of rent prices and stuff like that, I get accused sometimes of being a little over the top on data. I think one of the challenges that I have is I've never been in a lot of your guys' shoes. And so some of the things that I try to understand just in this business is like where rents are going and why. And so is anybody getting tired of hearing about inflation on the news? Or actually, is anybody getting tired of inflation? One of the best correlating things that I saw, and man, I think ResiCap posted a really good gentleman to follow on Twitter and LinkedIn, talked about the CPI, which is Consumer Price Index, which basically means how much it costs, how much is it increasing to buy a loaf of bread, gallon of gas, month in rent, just the cost to live. And if you follow that, that's the green line. And so long story short, if you hear the Feds talking about inflation going down, that's really great. But the problem is rent tends to be around 8 months behind it. So it takes about 8 months once inflation is going up to see the impacts of that. And it takes around 8 months once inflation drops down to see that. You can actually see from that graph there. So to what Michael was talking about. But I don't think we're at negative inflation. Some of the other things are some of the challenges that are also happening. Who loves having some of the conversations with their investors about the recent HVAC invoice that they got? My favorite one is like anytime, and you guys probably experience this, anytime you've got a conversation about a hot water heater, because I don't know how long did they last, like 10 years? 8, 10, somewhere around there? Okay. So you can imagine the last time they bought a hot water heater was 10 years ago. And that price was whatever. And so now that's that less. But the really important thing is just in maintenance, and I have a better graphic somewhere, but basically cost to maintain since 2019, it went up almost 100%, which is insane. And some of the other things, and I don't know if you guys are kind of, maybe we could get some color on this, but one of the things that I tend to take guidance from is a lot of the REITs. So they sit there and they give guidance because they're finance people, but a lot of them are actually forecasting now rent compression or break even and basically across the portfolio where renewals are still going up, new leases or churn leases are going down, and so now they end up kind of with a blended amount over the next year, so anywhere from 1% to 3%. I'm curious, Deb and Mike, Michael, are you guys seeing some of the same thing in the markets, or what's that shift in dynamic between renewals and new?
Yeah, we've definitely seen more rent growth from renewals, and we've experienced quite a bit of negative rent growth in Central Florida specifically. Occupancy across our city is reported at 88% by ALN. Again, going back to like our investors and our owners, they're used to 95% occupancy, across the board, and it's not the case anymore. So every interaction becomes that much more important. Transparency, explaining to them. Ray was just talking about the cost of an HVAC. It's more important than ever to understand your business and to fight to get the best price for your owners and to show them that you're doing that. So yeah.
So I think one of the things when we were talking about this earlier a couple of days ago, one of the things I've noted when I'm working with clients is I get a lot of, it's the cost of the materials is one thing, but how is it for the cost of labor? So owners are fighting us because labor is so, expensive, and they're thinking that we're gouging them, when in reality we're just really trying to get them the best price. In fact, a lot of my clients went from maybe a 20 to 30% margin in a lot of areas several years ago to 10 or less. Not that they want to, it's just they're trying to keep that control of the whole life cycle, right? We don't want to give up that control, and the problem is that owners now are starting to distrust us because they think that we're, still trying to make 30+% margin, or they're assuming we're doing something and our pricing is reflective of that, when in reality it's everybody else who has increased their pricing, but guess what? We really haven't. And so we haven't followed some of these trends. We stay at the same management fees, we stay at some of the same other flat fee, ancillary fees that are going on, but we tend not to shift our mindset and what we offer. And so a lot of people will start, looking at their management contract and just doing things just to keep that owner without realizing that they're sacrificing so much more.
Do they know this, by the way? I think the whole thing is, that's a great question, who's they? Do investors know what's happening?
You would think that they would, but I don't think they do, because they think, I don't know if I think they do, but I don't think they think it's them.
Yeah. Because I can imagine it's probably really hard to sit there and have that conversation. Like, no, this is normal. It's like, well, you're my only property manager, and I've got somebody to go down the road.
Well, I think it no, go ahead. Well, I was gonna say, I think it depends. Are you a single thing, do you have accidental? Are you is it a 1-to-1 ratio? Do you have small investors? I think people can be savvy, just depends on, the persona of the client.
So, who in here loves managing for family members or close friends? So, it's not fun, right? So one of my worst nightmares came true. My father wants to rent out his condo. And a year and a half ago, I told him I would rent for $1,900, and now he's holding me to that today. And anyway, it's just changed, and it's important for us to be able to explain that and help investors, to realize that change. Because honestly, his condo is now sitting vacant, and he won't drop the price. It's crazy. I'm like, Dad, you're just throwing money out the window. So I know how tough it is. We've gotten a lot more active in, pulling rent comps, making sure we can show them. There's all kinds of tools now. Zillow's got a really cool tool that's free. I can tell you how much all the houses, it's real-time data, houses by zip code, houses by number of bedrooms. Really cool tool out there for free to kind of help you prove your point.
It's interesting. So I'm going to go into the next thing.